across America and around the world on great radio stations like let me see. Oh, there's something. Let's try sharing it from the desktop because I haven't done that. Can I? No, can't do that. No. No. Okay. Back to the phone.
I got to tell you something. If you can't keep the phones active, you don't have anything going. There's nothing going on.
Just
What's
stop.
the point?
I can't. Restate the question. All right, I got that shared.
We're all ready. We got it.
Okay. If you're ready, I got to be ready. So, on your count.
Okay. Ready.
Ready.
Should I do glasses or no glasses? Which way do I look dumber?
I think the glasses are good. Well, you look dumber without them.
What about the old William Kunstler?
Oh, I hate that as a look and just in general. That's like grown men wearing the visor to me, the Steve Spurrier thing, which makes you just the biggest asshole ever. Like Steve Spurrier,
Kunstler,
William Kunstler doing that.
Did they have him looking like that in the movie? I can't remember whether because I.
What do you think of the doctors and stuff that have the glasses that divide? You know, they put them and they do that thing. I don't like that thing either. I'm not a fan.
Yeah. I have to tell you something. If I go to a surgeon and they have those magnifying things on them, I'm walking out because that means they're kind of blind.
I am done.
I'm out. That's how I roll. All right. It is the Brad and Britt cast. We're glad you're with us here. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be very, very careful not to say anything. What was the most idiotic, arbitrary thing that you have ever been banned by Facebook or Twitter for? Because it's happened to just about everybody for something.
I can't even remember
mine in a second.
I've been smacked by Twitter one time and forced to apologize to somebody for a personal attack before they would reinstate me. I do remember that. That was very parental, in my opinion, very paternalistic.
Okay. All right. I think I've been knocked off maybe twice, and the last time, I'm sure it was I did something where I put a picture of Hitler next to a picture of Trump. And obviously the Hitler fans were insulted by the comparison to Trump, so they had to tell me to take it down. No,
Nein, verboten, not Trump. No, nein.
That cost me a day. So we're doing this on Wednesday, several hours after the announcement was made by the Facebook Supreme Court of Opinion, whatever they are,
right,
that Trump is on the sidelines now for at least another 6 months. And Facebook has 6 months to come up with some kind of rational standards that would apply to everyone and not single out a person. actually, it's an interesting decision because to me, it's like Trump is in Facebook Guantanamo. Okay, because remember when those guys were first put in there, it was designed not to be a lifetime sentence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna close Guantanamo,
Mm-hmm.
and they never did, and they still talk about it, and Biden talks about it. And is Guantanamo still open? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Is there some natural attrition among the prisoners? They have to die sometime. They can't live forever. And so I equate that with what the decision to keep Trump on ice for at least another 6 months, although Facebook could come out tomorrow with some kind of policy that satisfied the board, and Trump would be back. But the explosion of support for not necessarily Donald Trump per se, but for free speech,
mostly for Donald Trump, yeah.
Because a lot of libs, a lot of lefties saying this is a bad decision. Shouldn't do this. It should still be the Wild West. The Wild West is ultimately the only way that free speech can reign in the United States, and from Facebook, and anything less is suppression of speech. I'll just make a couple of points. First of all, about an hour ago, Trump, quote, put out a statement. It's one of these things that gets generated, and then you see it covered everywhere, and you see the statement. It'll be on a sheet of paper. It'll look like it has stationery with official Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. And so he gets his message out. The point being that he just disproved the bitch fest on his behalf, that this is stifling his ability to speak to his people. Now, it may stifle his ability to use the Facebook platform to fundraise and make lots of money, which, as you know, is never the point of anything Donald Trump does. He's not about making money, and he's not about exploiting his followers or his fans to shake them down. And it isn't about the fact that in the year 2016, say what we want about that worm Brad Parscale, he recognized that Facebook was the secret code to get Donald Trump elected. And the messaging got out there, and Hillary Clinton and the Democrats were flat-footed, and Trump, a lot of people believe, was elected in 2016 for a lot of different reasons, but not in small part because of what he did on Facebook, or his campaign did on Facebook. And with that in mind, here we are. He's now the ex-president of the United States. And it didn't take him, again, more than 2 hours to get on public airwaves or put out a statement that, by definition, is just so insanely stupid that you can't believe it. Did you see his statement? Did you see what he said? Here it is.
If you're talking about the one
up here.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Free speech has been taken away from the president of the United States because the radical left lunatics are afraid of the truth. But the truth will come out anyway, bigger and stronger than ever before. So what is wrong with that statement besides everything? The answer is the president of the United States is not you. It wasn't taken away from you. You are the ex-president of the United States. You are nobody. And in fact, while you were president of the United States, you worm, you did get special treatment. You did get the ability to get your message out. And for you to whine now, but to mischaracterize and lie about who you are right now, you are not the president. You did not win. You do not live at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. You will not pass go. You will not collect $200. And you cannot you're full of shit. You're just full of shit.
Well, but
And
he
if
has
this
to
was,
perpetuate the big lie. He has to continue to perpetuate the big lie.
of course, that's part of it. But if this statement was on Facebook right now, even under the standards that they've had in the past few years, they would have banned this statement. They would have knocked it out because it's not
Right.
true. Or
That's
else
correct.
they would have put one of those little things, fact check. Donald Trump is not president of the United States. And they put the Wikipedia page of Joe Biden up there, which is bullshit.
Right.
No, Trump, you have sown the seeds of your own banning. And yes, there are 100 ways to say, well, this was a 20 people appointed by Facebook. They are Facebook making rulings about Facebook. It's a kangaroo court. It's like the Soviet Union appointing judges and then saying, I get all that.
Right.
I understand all that. But we already know this is not the First Amendment. This is not the government banning, and we don't have to go through that argument and discussion for the 50 billionth time. They're a private company. We know that, and so we're not going to do that. But to say that free speech in the United States is or has ever been 100% absolute is just not true. And one of the things that has caused stifling of free speech in the United States by the government in the past is talk of direct action, clear and present danger speech that would incite violence against said government.
Ding, ding,
Donald Trump did that, and he is protected by nothing when he does that. And does Donald Trump have a higher standard than the average person who might just send a message to their friend and say, we should overthrow the government? No. Well, if somebody got word of that, they would probably knock on our front door and question us. But he was the president of the United States at the time he did it. And is Facebook under total obligation to let that run on their pages, let them be the publisher of that? The answer is no. Well, then they're just like other media companies and they have to go by the same rule. You can have an argument about that all day. Go ahead. Pass legislation. Go ahead, Republicans. Pretend that the answer is to break up Facebook. Pretend that that's going to solve the problem. That'll do it. Break up Google, break up Microsoft, break everything up. Break it up into little small pieces. That'll help a lot. That's just crap. That's garbage.
We can get into the conservative hot takes on this in just a moment. But yes, if there is a liberal out there that's decrying this, but does not acknowledge that what Donald Trump did on January the 6th incited violence against the government, you're not a liberal and you're full of shit, because that's exactly what he did.
I don't hear very many lefties put that part in there, what you just said.
Because it's not that hard.
Right. And to me, we have going on in this country at this moment over this issue a mirror image of gun nuts and the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Second Amendment. That's all that matters in their life. And if all you are is the First Amendment, and that's all you care about, I guess if you want to join up with your Second Amendment absolutists, hey, we can have people speaking minute by minute, second by second, overthrow the government, march to the Capitol, trash it, take hostages, kill who you have to. And by the way, take as much weaponry as you want, because no one should be able to say one word, because back in 1787, a militia mentioned in the Second Amendment covers you for every kind of weaponry subsequent to 1787. So go ahead, have at it. I mean, this, you want to talk about off the rails kind of absolutist thinking and having no nuance. Because again, when we talk about the Second Amendment, very often we will say, hey, they could not envision the kind of weaponry that exists now. The kind of weaponry where if you squeeze the trigger as fast as you can get shots coming out of a gun. Back then, it took them, a minute, 2 minutes to load up the gun and shoot one. Things are different now.
Wait a minute, are good NRA members, are they against felons being able to vote, but 4 felons being able to own guns. I'm trying to remember how that argument goes. And we talk about absolutism and owning guns. I'm trying to remember how they land on that one.
I think in the broadest sense, they would make a very hypocritical argument. And in Florida, we saw it in real time. The citizens of Florida passed by referendum, I think in the 60+% range, a ruling through referendum that felons, once they've served their time and paid their debt to society, should be able to get back out there and vote. And what did the Republicans do? Hell no. Way too many of them, we have figured out through scientific analysis, maybe, can I say it? Black. And might have a tendency to vote Democratic. So they countered the referendum and threw in, I believe, something that said, but you have to have paid all of your debts. You have to be debt free. They
credit score above 650. Credit score above 650. You have to use your left and right turn indicators at all times. There's just
wait. And you have to have returned all of your videos to Blockbuster
or Redbox
from the last 25. If you have any outstanding, that cost a lot of votes in Florida. So your supposition, I think, is 100% correct here. Yes, Republicans hate the idea of ex-felons getting the right to vote, but I guarantee you that they will say, but once you've paid your debt to society, shouldn't you be able to own a firearm again? Why should that right be taken away from you? You're spot on with the cross hypocrisy there.
Well, in the broadest sense, also, wouldn't Mark Zuckerberg be the only guy that they would green light Joe Biden raising his taxes? Wouldn't the Republican Party say, fuck that guy? I don't care what you do to him. You can take 90% of his shit. I don't care. But the story in and of itself is somewhat of a Rorschach test, because you're going to find in various places, depending on where you're getting your news, the advisory board really admonished Facebook for its policy of kind of being ad hoc and putting things together. And they really came down pretty hard on Facebook for not having consistency. So you're going to see that in some quarters on this story as well. Don't forget that. But the great Republican hot takes that we're getting on this, such as, I think JD Vance, that hillbilly elegy guy, was talking about how we were worried about giving control over to the state, all this stuff, and we just gave it over to Facebook, so it doesn't even matter. And there's the Mark Meadows, the former chief of staff for Trump and the former congressman from Western North Carolina, saying, it's time to break up big tech. We got to break up big tech after we take away that antitrust exemption from baseball. That's going to be the next thing that we work on. The hot takes from conservatives are incredibly hilarious. But if you're some sort of liberal, and I don't know what, again, the litmus test is, you're whatever you want to say, and you're not acknowledging that what Donald Trump did on January 6th incited violence against the United States government and against the Capitol for the first time in 200 years. And if you don't think that that's a good excuse for Facebook to ban him, I can't help you. You're not really a liberal, because you're not seeing this. And a lot of people who are not even self-described liberals believe that he did that and would like to see him banned from Facebook.
But see, Britt, I think you're diminishing the word liberal here, because conservatives themselves should be outraged over January 6th, just because they have tried to pretend it doesn't exist.
Correct.
To then try to separate that out from this decision by Facebook and pretend that this is a singular assault on a singular poor, dispossessed pensioner down in Mar-a-Lago, that he's a victim here. I can't decide who's more idiotic here, self-described liberals, free speech kind of people, or conservatives who will always stay in the tank for Donald Trump, no matter what the decision is. And just back up the truck here for just a moment. Remember, voter integrity laws,
right,
are being shoved down the throats of citizens all over this country in states run by Republican legislatures and signed instantly by Republican governors. And when you get the Republicans who are in office at the state level who vote on this stuff, very often you'll get them to say, and this is part of the crap. Well, we don't have any documented cases this time of voter fraud, but we know it's going to happen if we don't do this. If we don't get these laws in place to tighten up drop boxes and things like that, it will just be chaos over the next few elections. Now they're lying. They're utterly lying. But if you apply that here, where we just had a president who lost an election fairly and squarely, and then used the social media platforms, Twitter and Facebook in particular, to sow doubt on the result of the election, sow doubt on the process by which the votes were counted in the election, but only in states that he lost, by the way, remember.
Right.
And you're saying, well, okay, that's the price we pay. That's just the price we pay. We're a special country. We have First Amendment. You can say anything. You know, we do not want to go down this slippery slope of blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, then let's use the Republican logic on voter ID laws and voter suppression laws with Facebook here. Are you waiting for the next riot? Are you waiting for the successful reanimation of these folks to attack the United States of America, egged on and as the result of the communication on your platform, whether you are Facebook or Twitter or anything else? It should be noted that Reddit months ago started knocking people off for this kind of crap. So, and they get no credit for that. They get no credit for that.
And they'll allow anything. Those fuckers
They'll allow
just
that's right. The allow anything people recognize that they did not want to be tagged with what was going on their platform. They took some responsibility. So when Facebook just takes one step forward, one little baby step forward, they're Mao Zedong in China, the Cultural Revolution. Do what I say. No. And Donald Trump is a special case, and he has singled himself out in human history in a way that he must be contained. And now that we know, and we can pivot towards this other story, in the last day or so, now that we have found that everything we thought about what Donald Trump did in 2016 as evidenced in the Mueller report, and then lied and spun by former Attorney General who should be in prison, Bill Barr, everything we thought that was true about the cooperation and the collusion and the being in cahoots with the Soviet Union, talk about Russia, and then messing around with it was all true. Everything in the Mueller report was true and did point to collusion and cooperation. And the federal judge in this case on Tuesday, Amy Berman, wrote this beautiful, wonderful takedown of Bill Barr and the lying and the idea that Trump got away with it. He got away with it. He lied. Barr lied. Barr was his personal attorney as Attorney General. Everything we thought that was true was true. And you add that in. You add that in with social media platforms, and I'm sure if you went back and looked at what Facebook looked like the day that Bill Barr held that little press conference a couple days after the Mueller report came out, and he was given the heads up on that one part of it, and he came out there and lied about what was in it, and sowed the ground for the lies that would be subsequent to that, and Trump announcing no collusion, no cooperation, total exoneration. Can you imagine what Facebook must have looked like on those days among the people who were supportive of Trump back then? So Facebook has been an integral part of the Donald Trump scam. They've been there, and they gave him a pass. if you want to be mad at Facebook for anything, it isn't for what they're doing now. It's for what they did over the previous 4 years, and rightfully so. And we mentioned this a few times. We said he should be banned. And they've taken this kind of halfway step. They appoint a bunch of people to make the decision for them. They say it's binding, and the decision is, okay, we'll give you another 6 months to figure out a policy. And there is no policy that's going to be 100% fair. There's going to be no policy that isn't arbitrary. All of us who are on Facebook, we know that it's arbitrary, because it's like living with a spouse who may wind up and punch you out, but you don't know what you need to have done to get punched out. It could be, God damn it, if you don't get the salt down here in a second,
you left your underwear on the floor again.
Right. You're can I tell a heard on another podcast story about hair trigger temper? On the latest Gilbert Gottfried, they did 2 parts with Michelle Phillips, Mamas and the Papas.
Sure,
she's been in a million TV shows all these years.
She's fascinating,
and so she's been with every guy who's famous ever. Right.
Well, she's only been hot for about 70 years now. So.
Just about.
Yeah.
Right. Just about. Right. So she talks about temper tantrums first by Jack Nicholson. Apparently, Jack Nicholson was so nuts, he would get up and go, "Where the fuck are my keys? Where are my keys?" And he wouldn't stop. "Where are my keys?" And finally, she walked out on him. He was, "Where are my glasses? Where are my glasses?" And then, after she was done with the Mamas and the Papas, she was in a bad movie, apparently, with Rudolph Nureyev about Valentino. Rudolph Valentino. And his English wasn't that good. He was completely miscast, and he didn't like the script anyway. He was still a diva. He was a diva. So he gets mad while they're trying to get some dialogue up on film, and he says, "I can't read this. This is crap." And Michelle Phillips steps in between Nureyev and the director and says, What would you like the dialogue to say? What would you like it to say? And he looks at her and he smacks her. He smacks her in the hand as hard as he can. Then he turns around. She smacks him on the ass. Okay.
Wow.
She smacks him on the ass, and he goes running off and says, "You fucking cunt. You fucking cunt."
Wow.
Okay. So these are stories that are so beyond the pale here. And with Facebook, it's kind of like that. You never know. You never know what it is that's going to send off the algorithm that will match you up with needing to be banned for a day or two. And in the case of Trump, I just don't think that you can give any quarter here. I mean, maybe this is equivalent to Abe Lincoln having to suspend habeas corpus. He had to do it for the good of the country. God damn it. It might have even been illegal back then, and that was the government. Okay. And this isn't even the government.
There's nothing illegal. There's zero illegal here. Take this to any court you want to in the land.
Right. There's
nothing illegal.
I believe one of the whiners today on the right over this is Tom Cotton, of course, of Arkansas, who ought to know better. I think he's a Harvard graduate.
He is,
and he thinks the Supreme Court needs to get involved in this. And maybe it's him, or maybe it's Ben Shapiro, some other idiot. It's not a court case. It's not in the court system. No. It's nothing like that at all. And they're saying that, yeah. And you know why they probably said that? Because remember, during the time after the election, how many times did Trump demand that the Supreme Court just get in there and declare him president? How many times did he do that? You remember that? Remember how crazy that was?
That's a deep understanding of our country's institution, because what the Supreme Court does is they look around at news stories and shit, and they just reach out and go, "Oh, let's decide on that." That's how they work. They have for a couple hundred years now, right?
Uh-huh.
That's what the Supreme Court does.
They just decide to do stuff. They just decide. They'll just show up at your door. We'll figure this out for you.
I don't want to, before we wring every drop we can out of this topic, one of the real reasons this does matter is that if he's not able to use Facebook and Instagram for things like fundraising for the 2022 midterms and the 2024 presidential election, that's the real deal here. It's not just him bitching about the NBA and LeBron James and the Academy Awards and stuff. It's him in a very real way being able to campaign and raise money for Republicans. And let's be honest about that. The money that he would raise would half go into his pocket, maybe much more than half, and not go to Republicans anyway. But he's not going to be able to do that through social media sites like Facebook and Instagram.
It's funny because when you portray it that way, in one sense, it's even worse.
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump doesn't really care about free speech.
No.
Or Facebook itself.
No.
All he cares about is the next grift, the next scam. And he's really hit many aspects of American life and failed. Universities, the wine business, the steak business, right? All these things. And so he was left with, fortunate for him, a job that made him the most famous person on earth for 4 years, and he exploited it for everything he could. But it didn't really make him that much money. I think we underestimate the damage that was done to him.
Oh no, the value of the value of the Trump brand suffered greatly over those 4 years. There's no question about it.
But that's all he had.
Yeah.
For many years. Certainly after he got fired from the only job that probably paid him really good money, being the host of a fake reality show, The Apprentice.
Correct.
He had a good gig there, and that finally ran out. So he had no real new source of income. And I think we've talked about this before. If I had a net worth of $4 or $5 or $10 billion, I don't think I'd be worried about whether I had a job or not. But it looks like Donald Trump was a phantom billionaire in a way, because had he not been a phantom billionaire, he would have never asked anybody for a dime for his campaigns. And if he was a real billionaire, he wouldn't be so mad now about this platform to raise money so efficiently, Facebook, being taken away from him. If I had 4 or 5 or 10 billion, by the way, remember, Mike Bloomberg didn't ask anybody for any money. He didn't.
He did what Donald Trump said. He did what Donald Trump promised he was not going to do. That was Donald Trump's promise was, I can't be bought, I can't be corrupted, I don't need the money, I'll just use my own. And then he, of course, lied and didn't use any of his own money to run for president. And as you say, the gig made him some money, but it damaged the brand for a long time. So yeah, it's true. He just is an attention whore. He misses not being in the limelight. That's the problem.
And apparently, even that stupid hotel right down the street has been a dog. It's been a money loser.
It has.
We got fooled by the coverage of, so and so bought a block of rooms, 50 of them for $3,000 a night. Trump, it goes into his pocket. That's illegal. Of course it was. Add that to the list of things that will never be adjudicated.
I think the first year that hotel did well because the Saudis were buying, entire floors and shit like that to try to curry favor with them. And then after that, everybody just kind of threw in the towel. They just said, fuck it after that. But yeah, it was a dog. And I believe the landlord for that property is now Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. I think I believe that's the way that thing worked out.
So Trump has to pay them every month.
And that's why eventually
the federal government.
It's going to be such a dog that eventually one of the large chains is going to end up buying it, and they'll probably end up having to eradicate it and fumigate it and sanitize it. That's where your bleach comes in right there.
It'll be a Hilton. It's going to be a Hilton. I can smell it.
This story is, let's do a couple of things here. We can make fun of Ted Cruz for a moment. There's that post from Ted Cruz, who still does get to use Twitter. Him and Donald Trump says the president's in great spirits, Brad. And they're talking about plans for 2022, and they're going to retake the House and the Senate. And there's the two of them. And does Donald Trump in that picture look a little more dementia-ridden than he possibly did the last time we saw him publicly, or is it about the same?
That's about the same. He's got that frozen fake smile
Yep.
thing that he does in all pictures, and it never seems to change. But what does it say as the story advances that you have other Republicans now coming out publicly saying that Liz Cheney should be tied up with cement shoes and dropped in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean because she's disloyal. She's disloyal and making it impossible for the Republican Party to be unified. Why is she doing these things? And the bet that they're making, and you see it by Ted Cruz going down to Florida, and I hate to even use the phrase kissing the ring, because then the word Trump comes, and it's just, I don't like it. There has to be a better way to say it. But the fact that they're going there to see him is, it's so creepy. It's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's so strange. It's so sad. It's so pathetic, and it's so horrible. And Liz Cheney is, I believe, cementing her place right now in history as a truth teller in the face of tremendous pressure. And we admire people who do that. We applaud them for doing that. And we should hear, regardless of all the other things about Dick Cheney and her voting record and the rest, because she's doing what we said needed to be done. Some people in the Republican Party needed all along the way for the last 5 years to say, my career, my getting reelected is not the most important thing. I was a successful lawyer, real estate guy, car dealer, whatever, before I ran for office, and I can do that again. And I can certainly do that again with my head held high when I do the right thing for my country and my state and the people that elected me, by not putting up with what Donald Trump has been pouring on to the American psyche, which is just venom and hate and division and racism and division. And Liz Cheney's doing that. She is sacrificing her political career for that. And for that, I say thumbs up, because that's what we've wanted all along. Sadly, though, it's happening, 4 months after Trump left the presidency. It needed to have happened long ago. And I understand that on the side of the road are people like, Bob Corker, the senator from Tennessee,
right?
Paul
Blake.
Ryan, right? That's right. People who have stood up, but not explicitly. They've just kind of walked away, or they've declined to run for re-election, right? Like Jeff Flake did, right? He didn't get beat. He just said, I can't win in a primary where the craziest person will win right now, because they have to be a Trump suck-up, and I'm not a Trump suck-up. I'm out of here. So there are a few of those people. We will know that Liz Cheney is more than fully committed to what she's doing, and I don't doubt that she is, the day she starts getting interviewed on CNN and MSNBC. The minute she no longer ever can appear on Fox again, and that day is probably there right
Very
now.
soon.
So she's in cable news limbo right now. She is in that transition phase.
Hold that thought for a second.
Yeah.
I want to show you how this story is being covered, at least in one story on Fox, where they're pointing out that Elise Stefanik, who is the favorite to replace Liz Cheney as number 3 in the Republican Party, voted with Trump less than Liz Cheney. That's a FoxNews.com story. They're pointing out
what's the percentage there? What kind of bullshit headline is that?
It's like 92 to 58 or something, because I've seen, or 92 to 70s or 80s, but it was it's very clear that Liz Cheney voted with Trump policies over the past when Trump was in office, way more than at least Stefanik did. And there was a conservative group, they even covered this on their own dime, that gave Liz Cheney a 91% approval rating, and they gave at least Stefanik a 56%. Keeping in mind, when Stefanik was elected to Congress, she came in as somewhat of a moderate Republican. Now, her time serving with Donald Trump changed her completely, but at least Fox is fairly covering this as like, well, we're going to get like a true conservative in here instead of this fake conservative Liz Cheney. And they're pointing out, look, this is a person who supported Donald Trump. There's the Donald Trump statement, which is completely bullshit. Liz Cheney is a warmongering fool who has no business in Republican Party leadership. We want leaders who believe in the Make America Great Again movement. And I would again point out that 91 to 92% of the time, Liz Cheney voted with Donald Trump and prioritized the values of America first. Elise Stefanik is a far superior choice and has my complete all caps and total all caps endorsement for GOP conference chair. Elise is a tough and smart communicator.
All right. So the bottom line on the coverage in that story, that tries to point out the fact that the voting record over a 4-year period is not quite as Trumpy for the person who's about to replace it is proof, quote unquote, proof that the Republicans really want some ideological diversity in the number 3 slot. Of course, turns truth upside down.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because number one, Donald Trump is not the president anymore, and it is completely irrelevant what those voting records were. All that matters is when Donald Trump was running for re-election, how far down the toilet were you willing to go to support him and lie for him, in addition to, of course, voting to not impeach him there in the House. So they were voting on impeachment, not conviction. That's all that mattered. And Donald Trump is the king. Retire the trophy, retire the crown for what have you done for me lately? And Liz Cheney has not done much for Donald Trump lately, even as ex-president, right? She's standing up for the truth. So that's the kind of bullshit Fox story that you can expect from them. They're trying to turn the importance of the reality of a voting record into something that means something at this point, and it doesn't mean anything.
Let me go back.
It means absolutely nothing.
And let me back you up on that, because I'm about to show a screenshot for those who are watching. This proves everything, and what at least Stefanik said about the January 6th attacks. There it is right there. She condemns the violence, but she doesn't fault Trump. Right. And that really is all that matters, right?
It doesn't matter. Right.
That's all that matters right there. That's why she's going to get the gig.
Right. In fact, I'm glad you put that up there. And the headline again, it's Stefanik condemns violence, doesn't fault Trump. That's the cut line for everything that Trump is doing and saying about the Republican Party, for which he doesn't have official control, but has titular, I hate that word, control right now. Proof they all fly down to have their pictures taken with him. All that matters is that you're in with him on the vote was
the big lie
stolen from me. I'm still the president. Well, all those other things. Stefanik is with him. Liz Cheney is not with him. She's telling the truth along with a few other Republicans. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter. We know that Donald Trump doesn't give a shit what you did 2 years ago in a vote on. He doesn't care. He doesn't even know.
Right.
He's not interested. It meant nothing. So thanks for carrying that water, Fox. We appreciate it. We're glad you're still you're still doing what you're doing. We need you there. So
we finish up today. This story is now widely being circulated. Trump hints at 2024 run.
Hints.
This is the
what is hints?
This is I think this is the National Review version of this, as picked up by Yahoo News. He says his supporters will be very happy. And you're hearing more and more people who are close in the Trump inner circle going, we're trying to talk to him and tell him it may not be the best, but he misses he's such an attention whore, and he misses not being the center of every discussion in the world so much. I don't think we're going to be able to stop him from running in 2024 if he's alive.
You know what? I believe that quote. Oh, I absolutely believe that quote. That is not fake news. That's real news there.
So you believe that? I mean, I think he's going to run if he possibly can. And
well, no, he has nothing else to do. However, and we can't cover everything here. There are some legal issues that are boiling up around him.
Yeah.
And it's only the beginning of May. Okay. It's only the beginning of May. And it's been very, very quiet up there in the Southern District of New York. It's been very quiet from the New York Attorney General. It's been very quiet from Prosecutor Cyrus Vance Jr. for the last few weeks. And just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, as they used to say, we're going to get a notification on our phones. It's going to be headline hotline news that the FBI is now raiding something, something of Donald Trump's, just like Giuliani. Wow. That they're going through his stuff. Who knows? It's going to change. Something's going to happen. Or the tax returns have been examined now, and there's absolutely no doubt that Donald Trump has been shown to be through the tax returns that he signed that were prepared by Alan Weisselberg and the other folks at the Trump Organization and his accountants somewhere else, that he defrauded the government. And he really did overestimate the value of his properties when it was time to buy insurance on them. And he would underestimate the value of them ridiculously when it was time for the tax assessment to be made on those properties. And that's fraud.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with him being president, because he's probably been doing it for 40 years and getting away with it. And he learned from Fred Trump, his old man. That's how you do it. That's how you rake in the big bucks. You don't pay any taxes. And so these stories about, well, I'm running in 2024, my supporters will be so pleased when it's just part of the show. The show closed on January 20th. All right. And even Broadway is coming back in the fall. They just said, I guess all of Broadway will be back open in the fall. But you know what's going to stay closed, I think, forever? No matter what he does, no matter what Facebook does, the Trump show. The Trump show is over. Yeah. It's one of those, hey, Don, you got canceled. We know it. Just because you won't acknowledge it, the only thing that's going to relieve you of the public disgrace of what may happen to you in the future is your own death. That will be the end of it.
That's it.
That's all.
And that's a good place for us to end right there. That was quite the tour de force. We'll see you tomorrow to end this thing up, this week up.
What hat is that?
That would be a Todd Rundgren hat. You see Todd Rundgren's Utopia.
He should definitely get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You see the list they put out?
Look at this. Well, it's been a thing for a number of years. He's been on the Susan Lucci thing for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should absolutely be in there.